Welcome, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us this evening. Thank you for coming to class and being on time. My name is Mr. Aegis, and I will be your teacher this evening. We have a very special lesson planned for you on project planning for content creation and VTubing. Thank you for the plain bit shepherd. After that, we will be playing Dragon's Dogma 2 and seeing what all the fuss is about, both the good and the bad. Again, thank you for joining us tonight. I am happy to have you all with us. Hello, Enma. Hello, Bit Shepherd. Hello, Nomi. Hello, Dr. Ekelis. Whoa! Hello, Utopia Tree. Thank you for the flipped desk that janitorial staff will have to clean up. How have you all been doing? It is the end of Friday, where I am at least. I hope you had a great week. I hope you have a great weekend planned. Spring break is after this.
Can we watch a movie?
Can you watch a movie in class? We can do something like that, sure. After we're done with our lesson, we can jump into the Discord and watch a movie. If you have any recommendations, let me know. We could watch some nature documentaries. We could watch some Bill Nye the Science Guy. Well, why don't we head into the classroom and get prepared for our lesson? Welcome, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining me in our classroom this evening. My name is Mr. Aegis, and I will be your teacher for this lesson. In my classroom, we stream first-time playthroughs and we give lessons on topics typically about health and wellness, but today I have a very special lesson for project planning for VTubers and content creators. The way in which you can improve your journey towards a career or a big major hobby in your life of content creation or VTubing, any kind of live streaming you want to do, how to use a project planning model so that your project has the best chance of success. A lot of people just sort of wing these things. But if you go through a proper planning process, you give yourself the best opportunity for success so that when luck or opportunity knocks, you are actually able to take advantage and open that door. So let's begin. I'll explain everything else later as we go. Please, by all means, if you are in the live chat, ask any questions you have. You don't need to raise your hand. You can just throw a paper plane at me to let me know that you have a question. I will try to answer it to the best of my ability. This is an interactive classroom, so feel free to be as engaged as you like. But we will get started with our class, with our lesson today. Today is Friday, March 22nd, 2024, and our lesson is planning for your streaming career. I hope you're ready to learn. I hope that this will be useful knowledge and skill for you. And of course, after our lesson, we will be playing a game, as we always do. Tonight we will be playing Dragon's Dogma 2. It is its release day on consoles, as far as I know. But it's finally available for me to play, and we will be playing it today and seeing what all the fuss is about, both the good and the bad. Some very positive things that we've heard and some things that might need fixing, but we'll check it out for ourselves in the class. All of you will get to decide what kind of character we are, how we look, all of those details. That ought to be fun. But before we begin the lesson proper, of course, in this classroom, we always start off with a short breathing exercise. This helps us to get centered and relaxed and comfortable. As a health teacher, I use this particular 4-7-8 breathing practice. When we do this breathing exercise, what that means is that you'll inhale for 4 seconds, you'll hold your breath for 7 seconds, and then you will exhale slowly over the course of 8 seconds. We always do that in our classroom, but I wonder if you've ever done a breathing practice like this before yourself. Is this something that you've done in the past? Anything that you've learned in maybe exercising or meditation? course, there is a delay during the stream of a few seconds, so I will give you some time to answer if you would like. I'll bring up this GIF, or GIF if that's how you say it, although you're wrong if you say it that way. This will help us to time it out right for our breathing exercise here. In order to do this breathing exercise, what I have you do, have you sit up nice and straight in your chair, but still be comfortable. Roll your shoulders back a bit. Have your feet flat on the floor, or your paws or claws or talons or whatever you have on the bottom of your limbs. I want you to put one hand, or paw or claw or talon or whatever it is you have, on your chest, right over your breastbone. I want you to go ahead and put the other hand on your abdomen, just below that. The reason we have you do that is so that you can feel your abdomen expand and contract as you breathe. Because you don't want to breathe with your chest. You want to breathe deep down, get that oxygen deep down into your lungs where you have more surface area, and it gives your lungs more time to get all that great oxygen. I'll give you a few moments to get ready, get yourself nice and comfortable. And if you can see on the little animated GIF here, when the pink ball goes around to the dark section of the ring, it's for inhaling. On the white section is where you will hold your breath. And on the, oh, Aurora! Welcome, Aurora the Princess. Welcome to the chat. Welcome to the class. Good to see you again. We're just about to start our breathing exercise. When the little pink ball gets around to the next cycle, we're going to start. Oh, thank you, Enma. Thank you for those gold stars. Get yourself ready. One more time around and we'll begin. And I'll count it out for you as well. Ready, and inhale. In through the nose, and hold it. Gently hold it. And then exhale through your mouth, nice and slow. Let all the air out. Back around one more time and in. And hold it. And exhale, nice and slow. Let it all out. And we'll do one more breath around. Ready, and inhale. And hold it. And exhale, slowly let all the air out. And there you go. That is the breathing exercise that we usually do at the start of all of our classes. Sometimes we use a little different one, but that's the one that I like the most. The reason we do that is that during our day, we typically breathe about 4 times faster than that. And breathing so quickly leaves us susceptible to anxiety and makes us more susceptible to stress. That short, shallow, rapid breathing is pretty harmful for us, both our physical and mental health. Taking a few moments out of your day to have nice, slow breaths can make a big difference. I won't go into all of the science this time. We had a whole breathing session lesson about it. You can go back and watch that on the VODs if you like. But that exercise we did, just 3 breaths, took about 1 minute. Took only 60 seconds, and you can do that anytime. That one is a great exercise for right in the morning when you wake up to help you get nice and focused. And it's great right before bed to get you relaxed and rested, ready for a rest. And it's also great anytime you're feeling stressed or fatigued or you're just frazzled. Just take that 60 seconds to take those nice 3 long breaths, nice and slow. And I'm pretty sure it'll help you feel better. But that is that, and it's time to move on to our lesson proper. Feel free to take notes. It's not required, and there will not be a quiz at the end, but I do recommend it. And again, ask any questions you have at any time. Just throw a paper plane at me. Type throw plane in the chat. I'll answer your questions. But we are here to talk about live streaming, and VTubing more specifically, but this will be applicable to any kind of content creation project or... Oh, thank you, Mako the Cat. Welcome. Good to see you. But yes, this should be applicable to just about any project you take on, any big undertaking you want to do. You can apply some of these principles to planning for it and making it more successful. That is correct, Emma. It is how to get good, how to be good at things. You might be able to apply this to you're applying for college, or you're looking to start a new career. Anything like that, it should be applicable to. You can translate this into a wide variety of things. So what are we talking about? Well, more narrowly, like I said, we're talking about people who want to do this kind of streaming as a career. You want to do VTubing full time, or just as a more serious hobby. It doesn't have to be something you want to do full time, but something you want to take a little bit more seriously. Or maybe as an augment, maybe as a side gig, side hustle to make some money and do something that you think is fun. Of course, if you're just doing it as a hobby, sort of like I am, or just to make friends or be casual, nothing wrong with that. That's just as valid. You don't really need to go through all the things we're talking about if that's what you want to do. But even if you don't plan on doing this more seriously or as a full-time thing, you can still benefit from this kind of planning. I did some of this kind of planning before I started. But like I said, this can be applied to any kind of project. It doesn't have to be content creation. Before we get into what I'm talking about specifically, we need to talk about what people tend to do instead. A lot of people want to do this seriously. Even if they might say outwardly, oh, I'm just in this for fun, it's just casual. A lot of people do kind of secretly wish, boy, I wish I could do this more seriously, more full-time. I think I could be good at this. I see some of the other bigger streamers, VTubers, and they're not as good as what I think I could be. Maybe that's true, but you'll never really find out if you don't take it seriously. And for the most part, people think that they work hard, and maybe they do. But a lot of that hard work seems to go into the wrong areas, or is done without focus or efficiency. So we're going to touch on that kind of thing as well. See this classic Gary Larson comic here of a person pushing on a pull door. They're working hard to get that door open, but they're not really doing something that's actually going to work. But what we aren't going to talk about, yes, Bit Shepherd, The Far Side cannot be topped in terms of comics, besides maybe Calvin and Hobbes. Bill Watterson is still the king of comics, in my view. What we're not going to talk about during this lesson is just platitudes. We're not going to talk about how you just need to not give up. Here's where I need to rant a little bit at the start. Give some context why I decided to do this lesson. Bear with me for just a moment. In the VTuber world and in the discourse about it, I see more or less constant despair among the streamers. A lot of them seem to be wringing their hands over why they aren't making progress or why they aren't growing. They're considering quitting or needing to take extensive mental health breaks because they're burning out. And you should take those breaks anytime you need, but also ask yourself, why am I burning out so quickly? Why am I burning out so often? I also see a ton of so-called self-help streamers talking about it, but primarily with just cutesy images filled with a bunch of buzzwords, a bunch of trite, honestly kind of insincere sounding stuff like you'd see on a motivational wallpaper from like 2013. Just urging you not to give up. Empty platitudes. Honestly, it seems like most of them are being made for the benefit of the person posting them and not people who are struggling. They're usually about as shallow as what you're seeing here. When you feel like quitting, just ask yourself why you started. Well, okay. Thanks, Dr. Phil. That doesn't really solve the problem, does it? What I'm saying is that I'm not here to motivate you. I'll say that right off the bat. This is not meant to motivate you. Motivation is a feeling. Motivation comes and goes. It's fleeting. Motivation isn't what's going to get you through harder times. It's not going to be there in those exact moments when you need it most. That's an entirely different thing called discipline. hello, Hikaru-chan. Good to see you as well. Come on in and find your seats. And we are here for actionable steps, Enma. And yes, determination, discipline. You are filled with determination. I've never played Undertale either. We will play that in stream at some point. So, what we are going to talk about is the disciplined use of planning models. These are established, systematic processes that any good enterprise goes through before they even start their project. People have been doing entertainment projects, small business startups, community initiatives, advocacy, all kinds of things like that for a long time. And these models have been made so that people have a place to start. So any successful undertaking doesn't happen by chance. Obviously, it takes a lot of skill and a lot of hard work and some luck. But a solid plan is what gives you the chance for those things to work. And you can benefit from using these best practices that have been established for things like goal setting, objectives, measurements, how to evaluate yourself, how to reassess when it's time. This isn't something that you only do before you start, of course. You can do this anytime during your efforts. You can take the time to reevaluate and craft a plan. But of course, who am I to talk about this, right? Why should you listen to this cartoon badger on the screen? Well, like I said, this is like any other enterprise, and that's a topic that I can speak to. As a streamer, I didn't get into it to get big. There are some other streamers in the class here with us, some of you whom have been very successful and who have done some wonderful things. I didn't get into it to be a full-time content creator. I have a pretty fulfilling career as a teacher, so this has been a hobby project. But it's still something that I took pretty seriously. It's a way in which I can develop my own teaching. I get to teach in a fun way. I get to do something that might help people, teach some useful skills and knowledge for their health, and also other topics like this. So maybe I'm not big and maybe I will be, maybe I won't be. But if I do get more success, it will be in part because of the planning that I did and working really hard on crafting my content. Or maybe I won't be, but sort of big projects, initiatives, community events, educational committees, event planning, that's the kind of thing I have experience with. So I can talk to the experience of doing bigger projects. While education and health are my primary wheelhouse, I have some skill and knowledge in project planning. I should go over my qualifications, of course, because you should always want to know if someone you're taking guidance from has any qualifications. I have a bachelor's degree in human movement, a master's degree in health and wellness, and a bachelor's degree in health education. So yes, I have 3 degrees, and they are all from a Big 10 school. Maybe I'm boasting a bit, but we're talking about working hard, and I certainly do. Hikaru-chan, you say you did it so you could make art with people. Exactly. Different goals will have different processes that you want to go through to meet those goals. But this, what you see here on the screen, this playlist of lessons I've given, that's a part of what works for me. We'll talk a little bit later about finding your niche, finding your thing, the thing that separates you and makes you stand out, if that's what you want to do. Doing regular classroom lessons is something that helps me stand out. I can think of maybe 2 other Vtubers that are not only teacher Vtubers, but are actual teachers in real life, and who teach lessons not just as a sort of occasional knowledge drop, but as a mainstay of their content. So it helps me to stand out to do this. But we're here to talk about you. And this is the kind of thing we're going to talk about. Different project planning models in health education, health promotion, business. Does this seem overwhelming? Let me know. Before we go on, does this seem overwhelming? And this is an important one, a short one, but important one. If you think that your project to make a living as a content creator or make it a bigger part of your life, if you think that isn't that big of a deal and that doesn't need a somewhat formal approach, let me ask you, if you don't care about what you're trying to do enough to take it that seriously, why should anyone else care about what you're doing? And what I'm about to go through might seem like a lot, but can be like following a template. When you go through it carefully, it's not too much for something that you might want really badly. So let's begin. When you want to start a project, you ask yourself the big picture question. Your pre-plan. Before you even get started, what do you want? Yes, you have to ask yourself first, what do you want? In this case, we're talking about streaming, VTubing. So that answer to that question is, you want to be a streamer, you want to be a VTuber. And the second part is that you want it to be a bigger part of your life. Answering that question first informs your decisions about everything else you'll follow from here. So, if your answer is something else, then you'll just adjust this template as we go. For example, this is a generalized model for program planning that's used in health initiatives, starting with things like assessing needs, going down through implementing your intervention, evaluation, things like that. This is a business planning model. You don't need to think too much about this. We're going to be making our own. I'm about to go and show you what our template looks like. Don't get overwhelmed. Don't freak out when you see it. We'll go through it slowly. This is a model that is synthesized out of other suitable models that can suit an entertainment project. The combination of a business planning model, a community initiative planning. I picked those two because if you're trying to do streaming as a serious thing, VTubing, the two main things it's about are entertainment and community. Being entertaining and developing, growing a community. Does this one look daunting? Do you think this one looks daunting? All right, I think we're ready. Let's take the first section of our program planning flow. You settled on your big picture. You're going to be in a particular industry. You're going to want to know what's going on in that industry. That's going to inform a lot of your choices after this. What is the industry that we're talking about? What industry are we talking about going into when we talk about content creation, when we talk about VTubing? Well, that industry is entertainment. You're going into the entertainment industry if you want to do this more seriously, if you want to do this as a bigger part of your life. Keep that in mind for later. It's not a bad gig to get into. 27% of the internet watches live content every week. Thank you for that, Bit Shepherd. You're absolutely right. Did you know that my live streams and VODs are also available on YouTube? You can check out that playlist. Find them all there. Specifically, we're going to talk about one type of live content. The live streaming content in general is like a $1.5 billion market, probably going to double in the next 4 years. And Twitch, where we're at right now, has about 2.5 million average viewers at any time. So yeah, it's a big market. Since we're talking specifically about VTubers, we had to talk about those numbers too. There are approximately 50,000 active VTubers. I am just one of 50,000. And you all are a handful, maybe a dozen people who have chosen to spend your time with me. Out of all of the other VTubers and content creators you could watch, you're here. I have to appreciate that. I have to be grateful for that. It's important. Of course, VTubers only account for about 0.5% of active streamers. So yeah, there's 50,000 of us, but we're only 0.5% of all active streamers. However, VTubers have a much higher percentage of hours than most of viewers. They get a lot higher engagement during their streams. And VTubers are growing faster than, I think, every other type of live streaming. Yeah, that's a lot of VTubers. And, let's be honest, most of them aren't going anywhere. But you've got a leg up because you want to take it seriously. Yippee! Thank you, Aurora. Yes, indeed, we do care about our community here in this classroom. I'm grateful for all of you that spend your time with me. And for those of you who also want to be streamers, you've got a leg up on all of those who aren't going anywhere. Because if you're listening to this, you might want to be taking it more seriously, and you're thinking about making a plan. But it is the viewers that are going to decide whether or not you make it. They're the consumers. Just like in any business, you have buyers. You have to think about that. You have to consider who's going to be buying your content. Not just with money, which is nice, donations and subscriptions, that's great. I don't really ask for subscriptions here. But most importantly, they're buying your content with their time. They're investing their time in you. Oh, Aurora, you hit that goal for your friend's cancer treatment donation. That's awesome. So happy to hear that. That is one of the great things about streaming and VTubing is so many people use it to help others, help their friends, help causes. And if you want to reach those buyers, you want to reach those consumers, you got to know what they want. So after you go through those steps of identifying the industry you're going to be in and thinking about that segment of your industry that you're going to be in, then you think about your consumers. This is the consumer analysis part. Even though you're a VTuber or a streamer and you think, I'm not selling a product. Yes, you are. You have to choose what product you're going to be delivering to people. Are you a singer? Are you an artist? Are you really good at certain types of games? Do you want to do ASMR? Or whatever it is, whatever the content is that you want to do, that's your product. And thinking about that lets you think about the kind of content you think people are looking for. Yep, and Mike, you're absolutely right. You are the product. You're the entertainer. And when you think about and identify the particular kind of contents that people are looking for, you can think about, well, is there a space in that market where I can make headway? Is there actually room in that market for more people? Or maybe there's a gap in the market. Maybe there's some type of content that people aren't really delivering much of. Myself, for example, I don't know of many other people that are doing full-on classroom-style lessons, so that was my niche. That was the gap in the market that I could fill. And it was something that I also wanted to do. Do you have any questions about that part? Understanding that you're the product, you should think about who's watching VTubers. Why do they watch? Ask yourself that question. Why do people like watching VTubers as opposed to other streamers? Why do people watch live streaming content in general? If you don't know why they watch, it's going to be harder to know what you should do to present a product that they're going to want to watch. We've got some great music in the background again. Slime Girls, another favorite artist of mine. Looks like we have an ad break starting in about 20 seconds. I'll let you think about that for a moment. And we'll wait for this ad to break, and then we'll go on to our next slide. I will see you on the other side of that ad. Let me know when you're back. What I'm waiting for. Sometimes you just have to sing. I'm not a singer. You can't have all that dead air going on, right? Still have to be entertaining. Maybe I'm not the most entertaining person, but I can try. Hey, I sang Poison from Has-Been Hotel for you all. It was kind of embarrassing, but I did it anyway. As we talked about at the time, you have to kill the cringe inside yourself. You have to break out of that part of yourself that says, I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed to be up on stage. I'm embarrassed to talk in front of people. Being worried about what people think, because honestly, most people don't. They aren't thinking about you. They aren't judging you. And yes, Vtuber, it is part of the development phase. You should plan for taking the time to get over that part. Because you're going to be up on stage, technically, here in front of people talking, presenting yourself as a product, trying to be entertaining. I think everyone is back from the ad. Let's move on to the next slide. This is the next set of the parts of the stream of the flowchart that we're traversing through slowly. We're heading over here to our goals after we have talked about and thought about what we want to do, how we want to do it, who we're going to be targeting with our content. And yes, indeed, we are going to be talking about SMART, Vtuber. Once you have the kind of thing you want to do, that you want to do, and you have an understanding of who you're going to be giving it to, who you're going to be delivering this product to, then you can develop your goals and objectives. Now, goals and objectives are two different things. Goals are the broad stroke. Those are the sort of top-down statements. For example, your goal might be, say, I want to make enough money streaming that I can quit my job. That's a pretty lofty goal, but it is a goal. It's a more broad, overarching statement that says, this is what I want, and that's going to inform all of my decisions from here. That's still more specific than your starting idea that we talked about. I want to be a big VTuber. You take from that very general statement then to what you want to do a little more specifically with it. But the goal doesn't get as specific as your objectives will get. It should be something, though, that you can picture yourself doing. In fact, you should be able to take the time in this step to visualize yourself doing it. Can you envision yourself in this position? Can you envision yourself talking to 10, maybe? That's 10 viewers is pretty 6%, I think, 5%, top 5% of streamers, which is where we're at about here. Envisioning yourself with 20 average viewers, envisioning yourself with 50, maybe even 75 and making Twitch partner. Can you envision that? Then that leads you to your objectives. You may have heard the idea that your goals should be SMART, but it's actually for objectives. Your objectives should be SMART. I don't mean that they should be intellectual, although that might help. They should be SMART, S-M-A-R-T. They need to be specific, they need to be measurable, they need to be achievable, they need to be realistic, and they need to be time-bound. I want a lot of followers isn't very specific. I want to be the best VTuber. That's probably not achievable. I want to make 100 grand a year streaming. Probably not realistic. And none of those statements have a time frame. Objectives, you should see those kind of like milestones. Milestones along the way to that goal, to that big broad goal you had. So you make short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals and objectives. Anyone give me a sort of short-term or medium or long-term objective that someone might set for themselves as a milestone along the way to the goal of being a more serious live streamer, a more serious VTuber? Think about something that is SMART. S-M-A-R-T. Take a moment and think about it. let me know. Just, there's no wrong answer. No stupid question. Just let me know if you have any idea how you would word a smart goal or a smart objective or something along the way towards being a bigger streamer. Something specific, something that you can measure. Hey, Shepard, you say one stream without queuing the wrong OBS scene. That is measurable and it is very specific. That should be very realistic and achievable. Maybe you could add a time bound by saying, I want to be able to do that by the end of my next stream. Maybe that would be specific enough. Dr. Ekelis, I say having a specific concurrent view. Yeah. Giving yourself an actual number. And then saying, I want to reach that number by the end of 2 months. I want to be at, if you're just starting out, say, I want to be at 7 concurrent viewers average by the end of 2 months. That's still kind of lofty. I mean, most people don't get past 3. Most people don't get past the affiliate stage. But that's very achievable. It's very realistic. And it's specific. Like you said, it's a specific number. Something you can measure. You can see whether you've reached it or not. And you've set a time frame that you want to do it. Enma, you say you prefer the term terminal goal versus instrumental goal. Oh, I think I've heard that in different contexts, in different fields. I do like those terms. Terminal is that overall, and the instrumental are the instruments. Whoa! Bags has broken another desk, and I think that means that we need to take a moment to review our behavior chart. Oh, there, Bags is Bags. You tried to kill me twice. Tried to kill me twice the other day. And now you're here doing this to me? To me, your friend? More spitballs? Bonking? Ugh. Aurora, thank you for the gold stars to sort of cure me. Oh, Bags, God. Yeah, we're gonna review this because I actually did this already for you. We're gonna review our class behavior chart. Another little thing that I'll mention later as a reason why I do this. But here's our class behavior chart for those of you who have not seen it before. You might recognize this from your classroom experience, where the teacher moves your clip up and down, depending on how your behavior has been that day or recently. In our classroom, we use this tiered system of teachers' pets, those at the very top, those who are at the top end of the behavior chart. They not only enjoy themselves, but they help others enjoy themselves. And they help the teacher when they can. See Bit Shepherd up here. Seals Eat Fish and Chico have been absent for a while, will probably have to be moved down. Pirate is also there. The main stage that most people are at, which is just great. Having a good time and enjoying yourself. Our friends Caramel Bandit, Sad Panda, Ralsei, Noma in there. I can change your name there if you want. Rao is in there. Cyrus. There you are. Ivy. Then we get down to that. Oh, and Bags, I'm going to get to you. Get down to the next tier. Do you know how much those desks cost? These are the monkey wrenches. These are the people who throw a monkey wrench into the works. They try and make things difficult for the teacher. Yeah, they cost 350 stars. Yeah. Oh, you got me there. Hard on Eggs is in the monkey wrench tier because of the incident in our Lethal Company playthrough where they called Kirby the throat goat, which was totally inappropriate. There you are, Eggs. There you are. Aurora the Princess is in Monkey Wrench as well. They just can't get out of it. And in Bad Noodle, in the very bottom tier, people who not only make things difficult for the teacher, but they just love to throw a wrench in the works for everyone. That's Bags. Bags was already in Bad Noodle, but after purposely trying to kill me in Lethal Company, I have had their clip now hanging off the bottom of the chart. Aurora, you're back in Monkey Wrench. I don't even remember what you did. You did get moved up, and yes, actually, you should be getting moved up again for the great work you did in that charity stream. So I will move you up. You'll be moved back up to Good Noodle. You definitely belong there now. Yeah, you're going to the bottom of the iceberg, Bags, all the way to the bottom of Davy Jones' locker. Yes, that is our classroom behavior chart for those of you who have not seen it before. Another little thing that we do. Oh, Bags has so many gold stars built up too. Yeah, I could do that, Bags. I can add a string at the bottom, be hanging off the end. Yes, those were some great goal objectives you guys mentioned. Yeah, a short-term goal or objective might be, I want to make affiliate within 2 months. Very specific. It's something that you can see so that you can measure it. You either are affiliate or not. It's within 2 months. That's a measurable and time-bound objective. Medium term, maybe you want to reach 10 average viewers by the end of 4 months. Now, those are objectives that are milestones along the way. And you should write those down. When you're going through this template, and I'll post the template later so everyone can save it, actually write this stuff down so that you can look back and say, oh yeah, this was the objective I wanted to meet. And then we'll talk about how to reevaluate later if you need to increase your goal or decrease. Once your goals and objectives are developed, once they're written down and ready, now it's time to get into the real meat. Now it's time to get into the product development. As it says here, this is you. This is you as a product. Yes, thank you, Doctor. I thought it was kind of nice and cute. In the US, we've gotten away from doing that in classes. People thought it was sort of kind of naming and shaming people in the class, which is true, which is why it's just sort of a fun thing we do here. I don't think it's very good for an actual classroom, but it is very cute and fun for our purposes here. But yeah, this is you now. Now we're working on the product development. You are the product, and like a business, they do a product development stage. So you think, what is this character's name? What is the name of this product? Is it something you can picture being in the position you want? Is that name something you can see on a big stream? Does that name, does that title of the product match who you are and what you want to do? What's your aesthetic? Can you actually describe it in detail, or is it vague and you don't really know? Do you have a theme that is like for your character or your channel? You want to have these things in mind before you keep going, because if you start developing all the other steps, start getting all your stuff together and start going, you don't really have a unified vision. And again, you are trying to make this work as something you want to do more of. Maybe you want to do full-time or as a side gig for some spare money while doing something fun. But think about it this way. For those of you who do have really lofty goals, who want to make this either a full-time gig or something you make some money on, don't let this phrase scare you, but you're starting a small business. You're starting a small business if you want to be a full-time streamer or someone who is doing it for some money. It's a part-time gig. It's a small business that you've started. It's a one-person operation. But I do want to pop out for a quick sidebar here on another aspect. Yes, but there is taxes. You actually do have to put your tax information into Twitch. Once I made affiliate, I had to put all my tax information there because you are taxed. You are taxed on your... Yes, let's pop out for that quick sidebar about that topic that we're talking about here. If you're going to be different, have something unique about yourself, that'll make you easier to stand out. It might make you more niche. Sorry, I don't know why I mispronounced that. It might make you more niche, something that might limit your market cap. I know, why am I thinking about market cap? I just want to stream. Well, if you want to stream more seriously, you got to think about that. I mean, for me, there's not much of a market for a teacher VTuber whose content is actually teaching. That niche might give you a high floor and a low ceiling. So I stand out, so I have some community. I have a nice community here. But maybe I'm not going to make it partner someday, 75 viewers average. Probably not, but I can still go through this process and reach as high as my ceiling can go. But if you're going the opposite way, you're going into a saturated segment of this market, it's going to be hard to stand out. If you're trying to be a cute anime character with a cozy chaotic vibe, and you do game content of the trending game of the week with a pastel pink aesthetic, well, that part of the plan about looking at your competition is going to be really important, because that is a super saturated market that you're trying to get into. I suppose that may apply in many cases to female VTubers, but I want to talk there's just a moment and address my fellow male VTubers. You need to stop whining about it being harder to be a male VTuber. I know that the viewer demographic for VTubers is majority male, but if the point of all of that whining that a lot of male VTubers do about it being so much harder for us, if the point is that it's easier, you think, for female models to get attention, you're just admitting that you think sex appeal is what it's all about. And if that's the case, why would you even get into it? You're just saying that you think that female VTubers are the equivalent of a bathtub streamer. And so, yeah, viewers are often looking for VTubers to watch because we live in a society, Joker face, but we live in a society where a lot of people want to see conventionally attractive female characters with an infantilized behavior that they can parasocially imagine themselves spending time with. That's just an unfortunate fact of our society and how people are socialized. Sure, that's a thing, but it's not even the biggest thing. And even if it were more significant, that's the market. This is a small business. You gotta understand there's a market. That's the market. Adapt or die. If you don't think that you're drawing from the smaller pool of female viewers that you're looking for, well, why do you think that is? Do you think you just don't have a hot enough model? Maybe you just don't know what women want to watch. If you aren't able to draw from the majority of male viewers, then why don't you understand what male viewers want to watch besides cutesy anime girls? There's nothing wrong with that either. You can get guys to watch you too. And I know frustration is normal. Sometimes I wonder why I'm spending the time on all this too. Put a lot of care and detail into my lessons. A lot of prep time to write up those health lessons and presentations. And then some vapid algorithm slop slathered in a generic VTuber coding gets all the attention. But the market is the market. Robot Shepherd, you resemble that remark? I don't think so. And Eggs, you don't have that skibbity riz? Well, that's true. Knowing you personally for as long as I have, I don't think you have that kind of riz. Yeah, frustration is normal. But you also have to consider, you have to appreciate the community you have. 12 people showed up on a random Sunday afternoon last week to watch a cartoon badger teach a lesson about the effects of caffeine. They could have been doing anything else. They could have been watching anyone else, any other video. But they chose to spend that time with me. I'm a hobbyist. I have full-time work outside of this. I stream twice a week. I only stream twice a week for a few months now. And I teach health lessons in half of them. I have less than 250 followers. But I have 12 average viewers. That's about 1 viewer for every 20 followers. I see people who spend tons of time trying to go viral on social media, trying to game the algorithm on Twitter. They try to play the most trending games, try to get as many followers as they can. And it works. After a year, they've got a few thousand followers. and maybe 15 viewers average. One viewer for every 300 followers. And they're streaming 4 to 5 times a week, every week, and then wondering, why am I not growing? Well, maybe it's a skill issue. At some point, it's a skill issue. Or rather, it's a content issue. You're getting all these people to follow you. You're getting all these people to check you out. And then they never come back. And that's a great point. People just, they don't understand. 99% of streamers are streaming to 0 viewers, maybe 1 or 2. If you're in 1 or 2, you're already way up there. Yeah, that's a great point to touch on, right? Point to jump out there about. Because I don't promote myself a lot on social media. Because I don't want people to check me out and, you know, I haven't perfected my content yet. I'm growing as I am now. But I'll do more and more promotion as I get more and more polished. Because when I get larger groups of people to check me out with, say, a nice viral thing that I do, they'll see something interesting that catches their eye and makes them stay. Yeah, like I said, it's mostly a content issue. You get people to come into your store because that's what this is. This is my store. I'm selling something. I'm selling myself as entertainment and as someone to talk to, someone who has something interesting to say. And the other part of the product is you, the community. People that I consider friends now. Bit Shepherd. You know, Empress, I've gotten to know you. We talk. You didn't miss too much, Empress. We're still in the beginning stages of the presentation. Yeah, Bit Shepherd, I see occasionally people are watching my VODs. They're actually spending like 3 hours out of their day to watch a taped live stream of a lesson on like nutritional supplements. That's wild to me. That's incredible to me that people would do that. But this is the store. And if your store is empty or doesn't have anything that people want to buy, then when you get them to come in and check you out, they're not going to come back because they know what you have on offer. It was a wasted opportunity. And the last part I want to touch on with the complaining that people do, it makes your current viewers think that they're not important to you. You're complaining about not having more. Well, aren't they enough for you? How do you expect to build a community and build a core of loyal viewers who feel like they're a part of something bigger, a community, when they're not good enough for you? That loyal core is what's going to build the community. They're the base. Without them, you don't stand a chance. People will come in and see there's nobody here. There's nobody here to engage with. If they show up and you're talking to yourself, and honestly, most people, if they don't have people in the chat, they're not talking that much at all, which is another big problem. Turn that viewer count off. You need to keep talking as if there were 100 people there. You and your content have to reward your ongoing viewers. You have to incentivize them to feel like they're a part of something. That's my little rant about that topic. We're going to jump back into our flow here. We're going to keep going. Like I said, though, if you have questions, just jump in. Just chime in. You don't have to wait for a break in the action. You don't have to raise your hand. This is as much your community as it is mine. But back into our flow here. We are at about this stage here now. Yeah, and we have to make people feel welcome. All of those resources that people make, all those assets that they pay for, all the expensive models, who cares if people come in and they see a fancy empty space? Oh my gosh, that story you have there. Oh, Bit Shepherd, that story that you have there is it's very telling about this kind of thing. Yeah. Your store can be great. You might have all kinds of cool stuff like you're saying. But if the host, which is me, which is you and your streams, if they're a jerk, they're gonna walk out. I actually have a little story here as well, and something that I've thought about for a long time since they were here last. I was having a stream, it was a few months ago now, earlier on in my streaming career now, been about 6-7 months. Someone was in the chat, someone was in my class, and we were playing a game where someone was being called crazy. They were being called crazy a couple times. And they said something in the chat, this viewer, and said that they felt uncomfortable with that because they'd struggled with mental health issues, and they thought that was, they don't like that term. And people in the chat were like, there was people in the chat were like, well, come on, it's not too big of an issue, who cares? And they felt like, that viewer felt like people didn't care about their feelings. And I didn't see it quick enough. I was too involved in the game, and I didn't see what was going on in the class, in the chat. I didn't catch it, and when I did, I said right away, you know, let's be more sensitive. I understand people don't really think that's a big deal, but, you know, someone in our class does, so let's just not use the term. But they had already left, and I've never seen them in the class again. And that's sort of stuck with me. I've even talked about this with my professors in education. But, you know, gosh, that really sticks with me. Which is maybe not something specific that you'll have to deal with, but paying attention to the class, your class. It won't be a class for you. You're probably not going to be a teacher VTuber. Paying attention to your chat is going to be big. You can't get too involved in what you're doing on the screen, because something might be happening in the chat that maybe is a good thing, that you want to seize on, that you want to capitalize on, you want to talk about. Empress, you say you're planning things as well. Something that you're willing to do. Good. Just the fact that you're willing to plan already, like I said, it puts you a leg up on everyone else. Because so many people are just winging it out there. Empress, I would say that's finding a new home for your streaming, a new place. I've said it's more of a long-term goal because you're going to want to take the time to research that, the pros and cons of both, or all of the options that are available to you, that kind of thing. But yeah, we would be here, now that we've started developing more of our product, this is where you would want to look at some of the challenges and barriers you'll face. And the main barrier you're going to face is competition. That is something you have to think about. There are other people competing for the eyeballs that you're looking for. Now, there are plenty of eyeballs for everyone. There's plenty of viewers for everyone. Like we talked about earlier at the beginning of the stream, there's, millions and millions of average viewers watching Twitch at any given time. There's plenty of people to attract to yourself. But you do, and you will have competition. And since I need to take a drink right now, we're going to have everyone do it. There we go. Yeah, so you're going to have competition. So think about, what are the other people doing similar things to you? What are they doing? Watch their videos. What are they doing well? What do you think they're doing poorly? And ask yourself, as a viewer, what would you prefer that they do more often or less often? What do you wish? You know, I'm watching the streamer. They're doing something similar to what I'm doing. What about what they're doing do I like? Once you have your character, your VTubing character, with this vision, now you start working it. How any business would when they're starting to work out their product. My input is to do mock streams. And I don't mean pre-debut or no model streams. I mean literally just pretending you're streaming. Whatever you're going to be doing in streams, whatever your niche is that you've chosen, playing games or drawing, just chatting, do it as if you're streaming. Now while you're playing a game, not on stream, not live, Just do it as if you're streaming. Talk about the game you're playing. Talk about whatever you would be talking in the stream. Talk about what you're going to be doing in stream, because chatting as if you have viewers when you don't, guess what? When you start off streaming, when you start off VTubing, there's not going to be anyone in the chat. You're going to start off with nobody there, or one person there, or two people there. You're not going to have as many people to bounce things off of, to give you conversation starters, to engage with you so that you can engage with them and keep conversation flowing. You have to get used to the fact that you're going to be the one talking for 3, maybe 4 hours at a time. That's something you have to ask yourself. Can I do that? And so you start practicing it right away. Do whatever you would be doing in a stream and just start talking. And it also gets you used to the process of doing things. If you already have experience, if you've already been streaming, then you could skip this step. You already have developed some of that. You don't have to do all the steps in this template, like I said. You can add or remove things as needed that are relevant to you or not relevant. The next step, though, after we're here, we're developing our character. We've done some mock streams and such. Gotta ask yourself this big question. Am I having fun? Is this fun for me? Mako. Yes. You found me when a friend rated me and I was showing off my ferrets. You stayed and saw I was doing health and life lessons, and you stuck around. And that's exactly how it happens. Often not from social media and amassing followers. Someone stumbles upon you and they like what they see. They're walking by the strip mall and they see a store and it has something interesting inside, and they walk in and hey, they say, wow, this is really great. I like it here. That's how it typically works. Unless you've got big network connections with, you're joining a VTuber agency or something, which that's probably not us. I'm so glad you found me. Because I got to this step where I defined my character and started practicing. And then I asked myself this question. Am I having fun doing this? Just playing as if I'm streaming. Playing games with my friends and just talking as if I was streaming. I even recorded it a few times and went back and listened. And I asked myself this question. Is this enjoyable? Because if it's not fun, when there's no pressure, if it's not fun for you to do when there's no pressure, maybe this isn't for you. Empress, you ask if it's okay to start with one thing and then move on to another, or maybe adding both to, yeah, absolutely. You can, I mentioned it earlier, very early, so probably before you were in the class, but you can always go back at any time and jump back to one of these stages and start reassessing. You can go back to product development and say, okay, is there something I want to add or change for my character? Absolutely. You want to go back and update your objectives? Absolutely. In fact, we're going to talk about going back and doing that. If the answer to your question, whether you're having any fun when there's no pressure, is no, maybe that's it. Or maybe you just decide, okay, it is just going to be for fun for me and a couple friends. If the answer is yes, you're having at least a little fun, you still have another question to ask. Do you think it would be fun for other people to watch? If it's not fun for anyone else, after you're watching your VOD, and by the way, watch your VODs, if it's not fun for other people, you think, no, you go back to product development. You go back and you look at, okay, what am I doing that is making this not so much fun for people? Or maybe you go back and look at that competition and say, okay, well, what can I learn from them? What are they doing well? What are they doing that I'm not doing as well? But if you've answered both of these questions, that yes, I am having some fun doing this, and I think other people would have fun watching this, now you can get to this stage of, do I feel confident? Am I ready? And it's okay if the answer is no. You just go back and start working on working on your craft a little bit more, and then you can go back and ask the question again. But if you are here, if you're having some fun, if you think other people would enjoy it or are enjoying it, and you feel like you're ready to go, then you continue. Then you jump into the next stage. And this is where you start putting it together. You got your goals, you've assessed the market, you've got your character ideas, you've got it all in hand, you've been practicing, you've done some dry runs, you got a pretty good understanding of what you want to do. Then it's time to get your resources together. And you look at what that is by both the things you need and the things you already have. But in order to figure that out, you got to list it out. Like I said, I recommend writing as much of it down as possible. Make it concrete. If it's just a vague notion in your head, it doesn't feel like it's real. Write this stuff down. Make it concrete in your mind that this is actually a real goal I'm taking on. So of course, there's particular things that you're going to need if you're going to be a VTuber or a content creator. But again, we're using the example of VTubing primarily. You're going to need first, say, a good enough PC. You look at the essential things first. What do you absolutely need to have? Bare bones, bottom line, that you can't do this without. Well, you're going to need a PC. You're going to need the computer to do this, and it's got to be good enough. And if not, something you save up for then. Of course, you're going to need VTube Studio and OBS or Streamlabs or whatever the program you want to use is. The other essentials, of course, are going to be things like a mic and a webcam. Now, if you don't have those, how are you going to take on this project? But if you have the essentials, you can begin. Those are the first things you look at. You write down, what do I already have? What do I already need? Or what do I still need? Then you move down to the list of what are things I would like to have, that would be nice to have, but aren't necessarily essential. I don't absolutely have to have them. Maybe you'd want to get some good video editing software. If you're going to make VODs, if you're going to make clips, if you're going to cut down videos to highlights, add sound effects or whatever. You could also think about premium accounts that you want. You know, I got Canva Premium so that I can make more of my own graphics. I didn't want to pay for resources, but I also thought, well, Canva Premium is also something I can use in my job. So it was worth it. I thought about some of those premium accounts I can get. Like I got Streamlabs Premium so I can multi-stream. That's what you would think about in the extras. Like I said, write it down. Essential. What do I need? What do I have? Extra. What do I want? What do I have? That's right, eggs. And absolutely. There are things that you don't have to pay for. Go for it. These don't have to be things that you buy, but you write it down anyway. You say, this is what I need. This is what I already have. And if there's something you don't have that you need, you acquire it. And whether you acquire that through purchasing or through sailing the 7 seas, that's up to you. Or some of these things are free programs. You can download some of these in limited forms or demo forms or whatever you might want. I mean, there might be add-on apps that you want to use. I paid for stream avatars. It's a couple bucks to get the full version. That felt worth it to me. The next thing, though, down that list, once you've thought about the stuff you absolutely need and the stuff that's extra, that would be nice to have, you look at something that's really important that a lot of people don't think about in terms of resource assessment. Time. Have you or did you, before you started, think about the time that this is going to take? The time you'll spend streaming? The time you'll spend preparing for each of those streams? Not just the content, but also technical prep beforehand? The time you'll spend maybe editing? The time you'll spend promoting and networking? Those are really important questions to ask. Open up a Google Calendar. Open up an actual Google Calendar and mark off all of the time that you'll need for that. It's a very generic version I'll just bring up quick here. Block off the time for the things you absolutely have to do. Say I've got work theoretically blocked off here. I've got 3 stream sections theoretically blocked off here. I've got, okay, I'm going to work out on these days. This particular time I've got my Spanish practice, and I'm going to play piano, practice piano. I've got a time where I need to do laundry and all that kind of stuff. Where do I have in here for things like editing, promotion, finding and setting up collabs? Where's my time here? And if I've got all of this blocked off, is this something I'm going to be able to do, or do I need to cut back on what I'm going to do? I think actually making a calendar and putting it together is a really good idea too, when you're assessing how much time you're going to need for resources. I see Sidair, if I'm saying that right, someone I'm really hoping to collab with. I'm sure they know all about time management and resources as they're preparing for their doctoral dissertation and such. And absolutely do collabs, Enma, you're absolutely right. Yes, Sidair, time blocking is very powerful. When I've done advising for undergraduates, I said, please actually put into your schedule every single class you're going to have and mark off time that you're going to set aside just for homework, just for studying, before you start planning ahead. Okay, on Friday, I'm going to go out to the campus club and I'm going to get drunk with my friends, which, hey, go ahead. You do need to have time for fun. You do need to block that off too. You need to also give yourself refresh time. Yeah. Oh, yeah, and a great point about, I think you're talking about it in terms of collabs. Don't do it for clout. Absolutely. I did my stream with my great friend Caramel Bandit, who is one of the inspirations for me to get into VTubing. I didn't do it to have a big stream. We did it and then did a lesson. We talked about social media, staying healthy and mentally healthy on social media. And I just had fun talking with him about it. Empress, you ask if it's possible to be if a content creator can't stream due to OBS, or sounds like maybe just internet is too bad. You can still do content creation. Yes, Emma, great point. Yeah, you can record. You can record the things and edit them later. There's free editing software. I use Shotcut, which is free. I'm really bad at video editing, and it's hard for me to figure out that stuff, but you can do things pre-recorded. In fact, most content creation is pre-recorded. I mean, YouTube is much bigger than Twitch. Most of that stuff there is pre-recorded, and people do very well as content creators that way. I think that's a really good way to do that kind of mock streaming and planning when you're doing the pre-recorded stuff. Trying to do things in one take, because you can always go back and edit it later. Absolutely. Yeah, that you do have to consider that time is a resource. It's a finite thing, just like money, that you're going to have to invest. The next one down here, covered a little bit by the chat. We do have to talk about it. It is important. The financial resources. Because you can do this for free. You can absolutely be a streamer for free. You can do VTubing for free. There are free models. There are free resources. You can download Streamlabs for free. All kinds of stuff that you can actually do this for free. If you have a laptop with a webcam on it, you can download the stuff you need and do it for free. That's fine. But if you want to start developing and doing bigger things, well, there are some financial investments you'll want to make. And you want to block off that money in your budget. How much you need, what you have in hand. And not just for the preliminary investment either. Not just for that upfront costs of things like a model. You think about what are you going to be spending in the ensuing period. before and if you become sort of self-sustaining. And actually, Eggs, you bring up a very good question, or a very good point, because that's actually the next step here: human resources. You can ask yourself, do you need any human resources? People who might help you. People who you can make a part of what you're doing. They become a stakeholder, which is not a term I'm going to get into here, but it's something you would use in planning like this usually. People who might be stakeholders, who have a stake in your success, who want you to succeed because they're a part of it. Do you have people who might be willing to do video editing? Maybe you kick them some of your revenue. Human resources. Do you have people who might be willing to be mods, who do video editing for you? Those are human resources to think about. And this looks like a lot to go through, but really it's just this one side to the left. Once you've written down all the things that you need or want and the things that you already have, and you look at what's the difference? What am I missing? What's the gap between what I have and what I need? And this gets us to this second part of this pink box, which is in the last slide, but it's also here because there's another barrier or challenge to think about. And that's self-impact. And we're going to talk a little bit more extensively later about self-management. But you touch on it here because it's self-impact. How is doing this going to affect you? How is it going to affect your financial situation if you are going to invest money into it? How is it going to affect you social emotionally? So before I do that, before I get into that, and I'll talk about it later, we'll move on for now and we'll touch on this later. Hold that in your mind. The fact that there are self-impact challenges. But now you've assessed all your resources, you know what you need, you're just about ready to go. You take one last time to go back and look at your goals one more time. Okay, we wrote down those goals. We want to make VTubing, let's say our goal was, we want to make it an actual side gig where we make some money each month. Great, it's a great goal. We've looked at our objectives along the way. At this stage, after we've looked at ourselves, we've looked at our character, we've looked at our competition, and we've looked at the resources we have and need, you go back and look at those goals and say, is what I set still realistic? Is it still possible with the resources I have for that to be my goal and for these to be my objectives along the way? It doesn't mean that they're wrong or bad. It just means you might need to update them. Maybe you say, okay, I can't really invest everything I want yet, but I can move my objectives forward a bit. That's perfectly fine. And once those goals are reassessed and you say, yep, okay, they're good. They're still good. Now you get to a self-assessment. Time to assess yourself. You've assessed your resources, all that. Time to assess you. You've thought about yourself as the product, but now you need to think about yourself in terms of a resource. Do you have the capacity and the ability to do this? I have a big line here to say, and it's very important. Do you accept the possibility and the probability of failure? This is a big, important question to ask. We're going to take a sidebar to talk about this in greater detail. Your definition of success is something that only you can decide. But if you're attaching that definition to something specific as a goal or objective like partner, or being above 25 viewers average, those are really hard goals. Those are really challenging things. And like anyone that takes on a challenge, there's a better chance than not that you're not going to make it. In case you thought you misheard me, if your goal is to become a big streamer, you're probably not going to make it. I'm not telling you this to discourage you. But I did tell you that I wasn't here to give you platitudes or feel-good slogans or give you some kind of insincere support. When you take on a big undertaking, not only are you not guaranteed success, even with hard work and determination, you can and likely will not reach those goals. But this is not saying that you shouldn't believe you can, because you can. It doesn't make it likely. You still should believe you can. Because the fact that it's not likely doesn't mean it will not happen. There's a motivational saying from some actor, I forget who, he's at an awards show or something, and he said, you shouldn't have a plan B because it distracts from plan A, so just assume you'll succeed. I think that's stupid. I think that's easy to say when your plan A just happened to work. It's easy to fall for the lie of survivor fallacy. You don't hear about the overwhelming majority of people who didn't make it. You hear about the few success stories. Empress, that's a great comment there. You're learning to accept that there will be disappointments. Absolutely. Look at this first chart at the top. This actually makes it seem like maybe it's not so daunting. Look at this. The non-affiliate streamers are about 70% of Twitch. Affiliates who are in about 3 to 6 average viewers are about 15%. And this non-affiliate part, this doesn't include the people who really don't have any viewers. They're sort of zero. They're not really counted. But if you make it to affiliate 6 to 10 viewers average, there's only about 8% of you. You're in the top 8. Here, where we're about, affiliates who are about 10 to 15 average viewers, it's the top 3.5%. To get somewhere up to 25, about 1%. The people who are on their way to partner, almost there, that's less than 1%. And then you get to the people who made it to partner, and it is a slim, slim number. Maybe you could be better and more successful than 70 or 96% of streamers. You could be. And with luck and some planning, you could get there. That's where we are here, and it's achievable. It's achievable. For this chart, I want you to think about this. This chart is only the people who haven't already stopped. This chart, even as daunting as it already is still survivor fallacy. This is just the people who are still streaming. This is not to discourage you. But you can get cutesy, pastel platitudes telling you everything is sunshine and rainbows and unicorn farts anytime, anywhere you want. There will be tons of people willing to give you that. What I'm saying about the probability of failure is to encourage you. Because accepting that you might and very well may fail should be liberating. Go ahead, try. The fact that this is an astounding undertaking should make you feel exhilarated. When people climb Mount Everest, they might die, but the attempt is still thrilling, and that's why they try it. If you don't try to take on hard challenges, you don't even give yourself the chance to succeed. You don't grow. You don't live. I want you to be motivated, but I want you to be disciplined. I want you to feel that motivation based on something that's solid and real, and not on some motivational wallpaper-ass meme from self-help wannabes covered in flowers and glitter. I have high expectations for my students because I believe you can. It doesn't mean you will, but you can. This other graph you see here is how many soccer players out of, say, 1,000 make it from playing youth soccer to going pro. Almost none of them do. Only about 1 in 1,000 will play at the pro level. Do you think those kids that played youth soccer feel like they failed? But after that little rant about probability of failure and accepting it and why it should be liberating, when you're ready, when you've done a self-assessment, now you put the resources together. Now it's time. Now it's time to get going. You would be well served by making a chart here with some notes in a general sense as you start collecting these resources. You start researching the suppliers or the companies that offer the things that you need, the things that you actually have to buy. Because there might be things that you buy rather than, pirate or download for free. But even still, there are options. There are options for the free things that you might want to use. There are free video editing softwares to choose from. It's a good idea to make a little chart, to write the pros and cons of all the things that you might use, so that you don't waste your time with one that isn't going to be great for you, isn't a good fit. And if there is something that you are buying, you put those suppliers, you put those companies, those products that you can choose from, with the prices across the top. You write out their pros and cons, so you can make an informed decision. You see it all right there in front of yourself. And if it's something like resources, like commissions, art, your model, put the turnaround time in there too, because that's going to be important to know. And if it is something like art or resources or assets, put examples of those things that the creator has made before, so you can get a direct visual comparison of all of those things. Compare the equipment, mics, cameras, which one's going to work for you, be within your budget. You probably have a little question here about why would you have the model here? Why would you have the model stage here? This is pretty far into the process. Shouldn't you have commissioned the model a long time ago? It's going to take a while. Well, if you came in at the start thinking that you were going to be the next... Oh man, we have an ad. Now I have to... I've been talking about this all through an ad. Ugh. I can't make the ads any shorter, unfortunately. I have them set as low as I can. Okay, ad break is over. Ad break is over. I think I left off with... You're researching the products, you're putting the prices and such on top of a chart, putting out visual examples if it's something visual like an asset or a model that you can compare them, writing the turnaround time under each of those. If you're comparing mics, put the price, put the positive qualities, the negative qualities, so that you don't waste your time with products that aren't going to work for you. Like I said, even if it's a free thing, there are different free options you can choose from. You don't want to waste your time learning how to use one that isn't going to work well for you. But yes, you might be wondering why the stage of getting your model, buying your model, is way out here towards the end of the process. You might think, well, why wouldn't you do that earlier? Why wouldn't you do that sooner? It takes a while for that model to get done. But if you came in with these lofty goals at the start, thinking that you wanted to be the next... I don't want to use a big VTuber name and feel like I'm throwing shade, because I'm not. But if you wanted to come in to be the next Kimiko Kuro-chan bear with 10,000 subs, and you were going to invest in the best possible, fanciest model you could, but you get to this stage of the planning and you realize, that's maybe too much for me. Maybe I need to start smaller. Now you've already spent all that money. You've already spent all that money and you've committed yourself to something. But you've gotten all the way to the end of the planning stage and realized, oh, that isn't what I actually want anymore. Mako, that's a good quote. The best climbers do know how to fail. But yes, if you wanted to say, I'm going to be the next big streamer, and I'm going to pay $2,000 for this fancy model, and you get to the stage and you say, well, I think this is a bit too much for me to start with. No, you don't want to have committed yourself there. We're going to take a quick sidebar here to talk about that too. And yes, it does seem like this is about trying to get a bank to give you a business loan. But that's a good point, Bit Shepherd. It's actually convincing yourself to give you that loan. That's a great point. That's actually a really great point. Thank you for bringing that up. This is like applying for a business loan, because it's you who's going to have to give you that money. But not just the money, even if you were streaming for free. You have to convince yourself to give you the investment of the time and the effort that you're going to be putting into this. Are you willing to do that? Does going through this process convince you that I still want to do this? I'm ready for the challenge. I'm willing to invest all of the time and effort and energy and the money that it might cost as well to do this. Just like you would be convincing a bank. Because this is your time. It's your life. It's the minutes of your life, the money out of your pocket. Is this something that you want to invest in? But this is a little sidebar about resource acquiring. This is the iron triangle, it's known as in business. And it says that there are 3 things that you can try to look for in getting a product. Bit Shepherd knows all about this, huh? You can get things done really quickly, or you can get things done really low cost, or you can get things done that are really high quality. But you can't get all 3. You can get at most 2. This is like one of those sliders in a video game where you're creating a character and it's a triangle. You can get as many as 2 of these. You can get something that's cheap and you can get it done pretty quickly. But it's not going to be very good. It's going to be pretty low quality. You can get something that's pretty low cost and might be pretty high quality, but it's not going to get done quickly or have very good service, because it's going to be a low priority for whoever you get it from. Or you might be able to get something done really quickly and have it be high quality, but you're going to pay for it. You're going to get what you pay for. I just wanted to mention that as something to consider when you're acquiring all the resources that we've been talking about. Yep, that's it, Bit Shepherd. Fast, cheap, or good. Pick 2. But at this stage, you would also be, say, putting your accounts together, setting up your accounts for Twitter, TikTok, if you're going to be clipping to there, those kinds of things. Now that you have a unified vision and aesthetic and you've got a character and all that. And the next things that you can do is you can swap these 2 if you want. These 2 can be done in either order, depending on what you want to do. Or you can omit this one altogether, the phased rollout. But I think a phased rollout might be a good idea for some VTubers and streamers. A phased rollout like a business might do. Because instead of having that big debut before you've done any really full-fledged streams as your character before this, you can do a soft rollout, or a phased rollout it might be called. It's sort of like a pre-debut with streaming. It's the opportunity to start your networking and get some content, and get some content practice, and content you can actually show to people. Because we talked a little bit earlier, once you start marketing, you need to have something to show people. You can actually have some clips if you've done some phased rollout streams. You have some content to promote. Empress, you're trying to get a job first and save up for artists and riggers. Yeah, you've got a plan. You're putting things in order. Exactly. And also for that debut, do you remember seeing a VTuber debut that didn't look like a carbon copy cutout of every other debut? For that matter, having a soft launch is a great way for you to start building some momentum, and scripting out some moments. Also possibly something to think about. And also, most people who do a stream as a big premiere, they never get back to that level. But now we're at the launch. I can't show you anything more after that. After that, Your content and your streaming career, that's on you now. But you should, lastly, plan evaluations. Realistic self-assessments. Schedule them out. Say every 3 months, I'm going to go through this plan just to make sure everything's still in order. Is this still everything that I want to do? Of course, this means you need to watch your VODs. You need to watch your VODs. You actually do have to watch your VODs all the way through. Not every one. Probably don't have time for that. But watch them through sometimes. You want to see how it feels like to a viewer. Know the moments that you felt were really good, that you can do more of, capitalize on, and the things that you felt and probably felt in the moment that were like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. I don't think it would defeat the purpose, Empress, no. Showing content of your character. You can build the lore slowly. I had a whole lore planned out for my character, actually. That was a part of my plan, that when I went through a planning process like this, I had a lore. But then after one of my first evaluations and self-assessments, I realized, you know what? I don't really want to do that. It's not really going to be a part of my content. I'm going to stick to what I do best, and that's the health lessons and first-time playthroughs. I kept it simple. And I also recommend, after each stream, give a quick, and I know people are tired after streams, I know it. But right after the stream, take some quick notes. An after-action report, it's called in the military. Do some quick notes, good, bad. What things went well, what things went bad, so that you don't forget them right away. The next time you're going through and thinking about improving your stuff, you look at it and say, okay, yeah, this was something that maybe I didn't hit on right, or this was something that people really seem to like. This moment had a lot of engagement. And the Twitch analytics is really good for checking on things like that. Anyway, that's the planning process. But that's not all there is to talk about. I touched on these just briefly, just a little bit. We didn't really touch on the issue of burnout and attrition, though. We talked about the fact that a lot of people quit. We talked about the fact that a lot of people burn out. But in this stage, you'll see it in the original flowchart, which I'll post for everyone to have. But Shepard, you don't say you're not trying to be a streamer, but you have a general question. You hate listening to your voice in recordings. Is that common? I believe it is so common that almost everyone has it. I don't think it necessarily goes away, but it is something that, like exercise, maybe you never start to actually like it, but you do get accustomed to it. And I think part of it is our social expectation. People are sort of conditioned to not like the sound of their own voice because as kids, we're often taught to just be quiet. And in most cases, we feel insecure and embarrassed, I guess, to talk a lot. And Enma makes a very good point as well, that there is a sort of jarring disconnect. When we hear it back, it doesn't sound like us, and it's kind of like an uncanny valley. And yeah, you do get used to it more often. More often than not, if you do spend time listening to yourself. But up here, this self-impact that I touched on just for a little bit, this stage here, when you see it on the flowchart, this is where you consider what I'm about to talk about. You know, what kind of effect is it going to have on your financial situation? Not just in the short term, right? But all along the process. And also, how it's going to affect your time in a social sense. We talked about, you know, planning off your schedule and whatnot, and how much time you're going to leave for yourself. But actually look at how much free time am I leaving myself? How much time am I leaving myself for social interaction outside of streaming? What impact is this going to have? What self-impact is taking this content creation journey going to have on me? Is it going to make school or work too much of a burden? And very, very importantly, what will be the effect on you emotionally? All of those things I talked about in the previous page, if you thought the planning was daunting, the emotional challenge is really where that challenge lies. But like with earlier, if you accept how challenging it is, and as I said, it's not meant to discourage you, it's meant to liberate you and give you the freedom to accept this. And that's so many VTuber self-help is just telling you should tough it out, or just take a break, or just take breaks when you need them. You should also, I think, take careful reflection about whether or not this is something you should continue investing in. Don't just say, I'm not going to quit, or I remember sparkly, sparkly stars. Thank you, Buru. I do believe I deserve them. This is a very important section. It's not just, I won't give up. I'll remember why I started. I'll just take a break. There is a point in your self-evaluations, you do them regularly, where you think, do I want to continue? And honestly answer yourself, you know what? No. Because it is an investment in the limited amount of time you have in your life, and there might be other challenges you want to take on. No amount of remember why you started is going to change that. You can always go back and change what success means to you. Changing what you're trying to accomplish is not failure. Adjust fire and aim at your new target. And Mund again makes a really good point there. Learning how to project your voice, and efficiently too, so you don't hurt yourself. I have the very good luxury of, being a teacher and having to be up and talk to people a lot, do presentations and whatnot. So I have a little bit of experience and training with that. Being in the army, I had to yell and a lot, too. But that's something that can be tough for people, especially for introverts. However, VTubing can be great for introverts because it's a way for you to get out there and do something extroverted with a little less pressure. But you do need to learn, okay, how can I project my voice? How can I talk in a way that gets people's attention? Do that and do it, 3 to 4 hours at a time. But understanding that there isn't just a financial investment and a commitment of time and an energy cost, there's also that fourth challenge, the emotional one. And thinking about that lets you prepare yourself in advance. If you go into a big project and suddenly you're overwhelmed, there's a lot higher chance that you will give up. Planning is one way to make sure you don't get overwhelmed, and also, mentally preparing yourself for those challenges. That helps you know that you might need to work breaks into your project before you get to the point of burnout. Don't just take those mental health breaks and those hiatuses when you need them. When you're at the point of emotional breakdown, make them regularly planned. Schedule them out. If you need to take one, without being said, just do it. Yeah, sure. But schedule them. In sports, there's an off season and a bye week or a mid-season break, depending on the sport. You should take scheduled breaks in addition to the ones you take as needed. You'll probably find that you don't need as many as needed ones if you're doing them scheduled, regular. You're far less likely to need to go on hiatus. How many times do you see VTubers posting sad graphics lamenting, I have to go on hiatus and come back again? And they do. It's great that they're doing it. Then they come back and they struggle to regain their momentum. If you take the time to have those scheduled breaks, they can be much shorter. You miss a lot less time, and you're probably going to need less of those longer as needed breaks. So, as we near the end of this lesson, this leads us into something that I see a ton of on VTuber social media, and which might seem well-intentioned, but it's the topic of self-care. Where you're getting more and more introverted in crowds, but in one-on-one conversations, and especially online, you talk more comfortably. Absolutely. That's like the experience for a lot of people. And I think that's why streaming and VTubing can be so helpful and can really help a lot more people who might be really good at being entertaining and, being a place that people want to be, but it just wouldn't be possible in another medium. Yeah, and this topic here of self-care is very important, but it's something, like I said, I see a ton of VTubers on social media talking about self-care in the most banal platitudes. I've used that word often. But yeah, I see it about this topic more than almost any other. And as someone like me, whose specialty is health, and having a great interest in mental health and well-being, little rant here again, the amount of vapid, trite, shallower than piss on a platter cliches and pink frosted graphics is enough to make me nauseous. Oh, just make sure to take care of yourself. Just drink water, stay hydrated, take breaks. Remember why you started. Again, thanks, Dr. Phil. Honestly, it seems like most of that goes around is the person who posts it trying to get themselves over. Not necessarily for the benefit of others. Most of that kind of meta content is when you see posts like that, VTubers talking about the subject of VTubing. But we're going to talk about real self-help, real self-care.
Seatbelts, everyone!
Hello,
Please let this be a normal field trip.
Thank you for taking your students on a field trip to my class. Great to see you. Let's give a shout out. Let's give a shout out to Sad Panda. For those of you who are just joining us from Sad Panda's stream, we are doing a lesson on project planning management and content creation and VTubing, and we're going to play Dragon's Dogma shortly. We're almost done with this lesson. So if you were interested in seeing Dragon's Dogma, if you were not sure, if you thought it would be a good fit for you to play, I know there's been a lot of good and bad talk about it. We're going to check it out. We're going to see what all the fuss is about. We're just about wrapping up this lesson.
Sweps.
Yeah, check out Sad Panda. Give them a follow.
I like the other stuff, though. I just couldn't find the other stuff in the
that makes sense.
the cash
Playing
wrap.
Breath of the Wild there. Tears of the Kingdom.
Soda.
Ooh, that's delicious.
Yeah, that busted a wheelie and it's on fire.
Let's go.
Yep.
I had that with dinner.
Somebody
Go
turn
ahead
that
and
into a
find
drag
out.
racer.
Let's go ahead and find out how bad.
I still have not played Tears of the Kingdom. I should. I can play that on stream at some point if the viewers would like me to.
Oh, I'm still alive. Ah, it wasn't one.
But yes, we're going to talk about actual self-care. You know the kind of posts I'm talking about that are insincere, thin, vapid, generic self-help? We're going to talk about some actual things. Oh, definitely stay hydrated, obviously. Take breaks as needed. Well, the first thing, of course, is to make those breaks scheduled and regular. Work them into your plan. Not just the platitude of take breaks when you need. But you also want to use those scheduled breaks to do things during the times when you normally would be streaming that aren't streaming. Break up that schedule. So if you normally stream at a particular day and time, and your scheduled break week or 2 weeks or whatever it is happening during that time, take the time that you would have normally been streaming and do anything other than streaming. You know why? Because your brain gets used to those habits of, I always stream at this time. Your brain gets anchored to that monotony, and it becomes accustomed to and expects a stress dump at that time all the time. It expects that, okay, at this time on this day, there's going to be a stress dump. Because even if you're enjoying yourself, it's still stressful. You're still up here talking and entertaining for 3-4 hours at a time or more. So take those scheduled breaks and make them a time when you're doing something that can actually break up the monotony in your life. The next one, of course, though, on that list was sleep. And you know how much I love to talk about sleep. You know how much importance I place on it. Basic self-care there. Yep, you're watching basic self-care media. Aggressively watching positivity videos. Buru, good points. Good ideas. Yeah, I won't go through the whole sleep lesson here. You can go watch the VOD if you want. I'm sure there will be a link in the chat shortly. I'll just leave this up while I talk about it so you can see the tips I put. I want you to consider how important sleep, though, is as a streamer. Whether you've already started it or are about to. This should be a top priority topic you think about. Like I said, I did an entire session on sleep and why it's so important. It's a top 5 thing that you should care about as a personal factor in whether or not you actually succeed as a streamer. I mean it. Whether or not you end up burnt out or even quitting, your sleep quality and quantity might be one of the most important determining factors of whether you quit or not. Literally, it will affect every part of your life. And you are taking on this big challenge. It's a lot of stress, it's a lot of energy, it's a lot of work. Actually put these tips here into practice. It will make it easier for you to stream and stream regularly without needing to take breaks as often. It will affect every part of your mental health, your memory, your focus and concentration. Literally, a lack of sleep will make it harder for you to focus and stream. It's a top 5 thing to think about. As important as all the other planning is, as important as getting good resources, as important as getting a good model is, if your sleep sucks, it's going to be harder to be a streamer. Because streaming is probably going to have you up late nights sometimes. It's going to be times when it's stressful, or you finish a stream and your mind is racing. You know how it is if you're a streamer. Those of you in the chat who have streamed, you know you're wired after a stream, and it might be hard to fall asleep. There might be days during the week where you don't get as much sleep. So if your sleep schedule, your sleep quality and quantity is more consistent and good the rest of the week, it's going to make it easier for you to get by. That's my rant on that. The next space you see there is one that also has a lot of potential baggage attached to it, though. It's one that can be harder to discuss because people have different capacities. And those two, actually, the next 2 are improved nutrition and movement. Those can be hard to talk about because, like I said, people have different capacities. They're at different stages. People have disabilities, physical activity. There are huge misconceptions about what that means, though. But it does mean something as simple as regular movement. Whether it's walking, wheeling, just moving 2 or 4 or as many limbs as you can for some portion of the day, some minimal amount of movement that is challenging but realistic. Because like sleep, this will affect almost everything else about your health. Blood flow, oxygen delivery to your brain, nutrient delivery, all of these things. Because streaming, again, why this is so important specifically to streamers, you're sitting in front of a screen for maybe 4 solid hours at a time, entertaining people. I could, and I will, give full sessions about movement, because the body of evidence on this is overwhelming on its effects on things that are specifically challenges for VTubers. That next one there, probably pretty self-evident, probably pretty obvious, social connection. One of the biggest personal protective factors against stress, against burnout, against mental strain, no matter what, even if you're not doing any content. That's rookie hours, Buru, 4 hours. Yeah, it's true. I typically never stream more than 4 hours because I try to follow all these, you know. I should do some more longer ones just for fun, and I will do like a marathon stream at some point, maybe a charity stream. Yes, where was I? Social connections, yeah. It's a protective factor, probably one of the most important prophylactics that can be used for preventing burnout and mental stress and strain. Think about who your social support will be throughout this journey as a content creator. Who is that person? Who are those people that you can vent to? When you're overwhelmed, who can you let it out to? They don't even have to give you advice or even know what to do or say, and that can be hard for the person you talk to, I know. Sometimes I just feel like I don't know what to say to someone who's venting to me or talking to me about their problems. I don't want to say the wrong thing. Sometimes it's okay to just be the person listening. Just having someone to say those things to can be a huge pressure valve. Next one, time management. We've already talked about quite a bit. I'm putting it here because it's important in the list. Naomi has a good point. Keep a journal. Yes. That next one there, breathing practice. You remember that one. We did it at the start of the stream. Whether you're a streamer or not. Begin this good habit. Breathing practices throughout the day. I mean, breathing is literally the thing that's keeping you alive right now, isn't it? And the effects of your breathing, whether they're good or bad, rapid and shallow or deep and relaxed, are overwhelmingly important on your physical health and mental health. Get some stretches, get some stretchies, Buru. Go ahead. Anytime. And get some good breathing in. Do some breathing practices while you're getting the stretchies. You can do the one that we did at the start of the lesson. There are others you can try. I'm putting mindfulness in with this as well, but I want to talk about it in the next item. Overstimulation. Managing overstimulation was the next item in that self-care list. And again, I'm not going to go through it all. There's a VOD. You can watch it all if you want. I really think it would be helpful to do so. Both the sleep one and this overstimulation one have condensed, shorter versions. You can watch them in 5 to 7 minutes, and it's got all the information in there. But this is such an important topic because we are already overstimulated, and as a streamer, you're getting a ton of stimulation in you during those 4 or 5 hours of streaming. You know, I've got music in my ear. I'm talking. I'm watching a screen. I'm watching back and forth to the chat. I'm monitoring the stream, quality, the technical stuff. There's a lot going on. I'm really overstimulated right now. But that's okay, because you deal with it later. You manage your overstimulation, manage that mental strain. The things listed here will be extraordinarily helpful. I won't go through them all again. Don't want to overload you with stuff. That's a great point to make, is that overstimulation can be a big issue for streamers. And you can make that easier on yourself and make it less likely that you'll end up quitting or getting burned out. Lastly, getting some daily outdoor time is great. Sunlight is incredibly good for your sleep health as well. But green space, getting time out in green space is great for your mental health and your stress levels. Pretty compelling evidence in the literature that it is also a big prophylactic against stress. But Shepard says it quite succinctly: see sunlight, touch grass. But something you notice about all of these things, about every item on here, these are all habits. These are all habits that you work on and develop and incorporate into your life. Because this is not a self-care session. It's not retail therapy or treating yourself to a candy bar. Those things are fine. And it's nice to do things for yourself at times. But this is self-care. It's you taking care of you because you are the employee. You are the worker. You are the one doing all of this labor. And it is a ton of emotional labor. If you don't take care of yourself, the person who's the biggest, most important part of this whole journey, it's going to break down. Steel yourself against that burnout and the possibility of quitting early with good habits. I considered putting a box in the flowchart that said this right towards the beginning, but I just wanted to drive home its importance here at the end. And Bit Shepherd says, as they are always right on top of the game, the very last thing I was going to say. Wow, it seems like you've seen a lot of these lessons before, the things that I'm talking about. You know why that is, class? You know why I'm giving this lesson after having given lessons on most of these other topics? I gave those lessons in the order I did for a reason. I gave these lessons in the order I did for a reason. This is a curriculum. They're not just willy-nilly. I planned it out. I gave you a lesson on sleep health and on breathing practice and dealing with overstimulation and nutrition for a reason. Now you've seen this lesson, and if you hadn't already seen these before, now you know, oh, I can get more information about these. Yes, I am devious, Bit Shepherd, absolutely devious. I taught you without you even realizing I was teaching you. And now I can repost some of those clips and highlights from those lessons on social media and in uploading them up on YouTube because they're relevant again. My content that I've been creating is relevant more often. And you reward your regular viewers with things like, oh, I remember that. I was there for that. Sparkle time? Sparkle time, Buru? It absolutely is. Things like that behavior chart that I made. It puts people's names out there. I put their names on it. I recognize them. It says that I know who they are, that they're a part of this community, that they're a part of the things that I do. They matter. Thank you for those hearts. Thank you for those hearts. I did deserve those. Like I said, I do this all for a reason. It's all been planned out. And all of you, if you are not on this chart and you would like to be, I will make you a clip and put you on this chart. You do things like this to reward your community. It's not just for me and it's not just for fun. It is fun, but it creates community, right? There are things in the classroom that the regulars here know and recognize. References that they can make to games that we've played before where we had funny moments. I mean, we can look back at clips that we've had, and people who are here, they feel a sense of community because they were a part of it. In-jokes. In-jokes are great for building community. Class, I asked in another stream in the past, why do I always ask icebreaker questions? Why do I always ask icebreaker questions and have, people tell jokes at times? I ask those icebreaker questions for a reason. Why would I do that in terms of building community? If you're not sure, if you don't remember, the reason I do it is because it gets everyone, oh, Utopia Tree, another desk. See, that's another aspect of community building. I know when Utopia Tree comes in, they're going to flip a desk. It's just a part of our process here now. It's just a part of our experience, part of our classroom. But I ask those icebreaker questions every class because it gets everyone to know each other. Even if it's something silly, like, what's your favorite chocolate bar? Or if you could be great at any sport you wanted, what would it be? It makes people think about, oh yeah, I know that. I know that person likes zero bars, the chocolate bar zero bars. I haven't seen anyone else who knows what a zero bar is. But anyway, they find things that they have in common. They find things that they were surprised by of the other person. And people love to talk about themselves. And it's a good thing, right? You ask them questions about themselves. They get a chance to express themselves and their opinions. That's why I always ask those icebreaker questions. It's a part of community building. And even though that's not on our little flowchart of project planning, that is a good little tip for if you want to keep growing. Well then, class. We've come to the end of our lesson. There was so much more to talk about. Yippee! We did it! There was so much more we could have talked about. If you have questions, ask me anytime, here, offline. Next class! Thank you for the hearts and the stars. Mako, Empress, Bitchepard. I just want to say, I hope this encouraged you if you wanted to be a streamer, or if you just think about incorporating some of this into your life. I hope it encouraged you. And I know it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows and unicorn farts, but it was honest. And if I'm anything, it's honest. So class, I am pleased and very proud to present to you your certificate of completion for this lesson on project planning for content creators. Your certificate will be sent to you upon request. Congratulations.